All right, so how are we doing today? My name is KZ, and I will be your audience surrogate for today. I'm also a builder on Solana, so some of the questions are for myself and also for the builders in the house when they're deciding on which chain to be building on. So why don't we start with a round of introductions? Who are you and what are you building?
I'm Anil Kumar, CEO, co-founder Rom. We are building scaling and interop solution on Solana for Ethereum, Bitcoin, sovereign L2s. Basically, we are bringing world to Solana and Solana to the world.
Hey, I'm Steve, head of BD at Aztec. Aztec is a privacy-focused project. We use ZK, and must confess, feel a little bit behind enemy lines at the minute. So we're going to be deploying as an L2 in Ethereum, but privacy is for everybody. So we're exploring lots of interesting ways we can work with the Solana Foundation, which I'm sure I'll get into.
Actually, by that definition, I'm also kind of behind the enemy lines.
There's no enemies here. We're all friends. Future interoperable friends, neighbors.
Yeah, we're talking about cross-chain, right? So my name is Joanna. I'm the co-founder, CEO of Soon. So we are the most efficient roll-up stack that delivers Solana top performance to every ecosystem across, Ethereum, in the near future, Bitcoin, other ecosystem as well. So the key to this technical design is using the decouple SVM, which I can go into in the next question or two. But we are all about bringing in, the Solana execution environment to other L1s. So we currently have a mainnet that settles onto Ethereum as the first settlement layer.
Hi, everyone. My name is Chris Zhu. I'm one of the co-founders at Sonic SVM and also the CEO here. Sonic is one of the first SVMs to launch and settle directly on top of Solana. We are entertainment focused, so we built out TikTok mini apps that brought 2 million users directly within Solana. Built out a separate liquidity pool for entertainment and social purposes. Our goal is to create an ecosystem of entertainment and consumer applications on top of Solana and bring those liquidity into Sol.
Okay, so I'm gonna put you guys on the spot. I know earlier I said there are no enemies, but what if you are competing for builders to build on? I'm assuming you want builders to build on your chains or your rollups, right? Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay. I hope so. So imagine you're in front of a lot of builders, and then all of you guys are pitching to the same builder. So you have to say, my rollup is better than yours, or my L2 is better than yours because it's a Mad Lib. So what would you say to these builders and convince them to build on your chain? We can start with Chris.
Yeah, first of all, I want to talk to the Solana builders and who have already been in the ecosystem, being in the trenches with us, for the last 3.5 years, 4 years. And one of the most convenient, design choices that we made was that Hypergrid, which is our synchronization scheme between the base layer and rollup, our rollup, actually only requires you to switch the RPC endpoint, right? So everything else stays the same. Your programming, your account initialization models, and your Solana fee calculations, they all stay the same. So if you're already interested in Solana and you're a developer there, this makes your life significantly easier. And then different from Ethereum or EVM ecosystem, the bridging experience, because of the fast finality time, is also super, super easy for you users. And because we have the TikTok mini apps as well as other social apps for distribution, you get easy deployment, large number of users for distribution, and a very, very cheap fee structure for your users as well.
Cheap, fast, and easy. Is that the right summary?
Increased bandwidth and reduced latency.
All right, Joanna, what's your pitch to the builders?
Okay. Yeah. So for us, I think the main thing to think about is we are basically still giving you the Solana, execution environment. So as a builder, you don't have to, basically redeploy, right, or rewrite your code base as a Solana builder. But I think the main thing that really differentiated us, as I mentioned in the first answer, is we are first and foremost, we're a roll-up stack, right? So not only you can just build applications onto our mainnet, which has been live since beginning of the year, and currently have 40 applications building on top. We also have the stack that can allow you to build your own app chains. So currently, that in that department, we have 5 app chains, primarily focused on AI consumer use cases, which I think are the 2 sectors that needed the high performance cheap fee the most, right? Imagine, basically having this high volume, low notional type of transaction where call it like the microtransactions happening on Soon, to basically unlock all the use cases that we haven't seen on Ethereum before. So with that, we have 30K TPS, 50 milliseconds block time. These are all real numbers, again, not on white paper, but in real live mainnet stats, benchmarking even faster as we introducing new tech like horizontal scaling and decouple SVM. So just to expand on that real quick, on the decouple SVM, we actually managed to separate the consensus layer from the user execution layer, which is what really increased the TPS for us, because we were able to, as L2, we don't need the consensus layer, right? We don't need the user voting threads. So by managing to decouple that portion and build this native Merkleization on Ethereum, we were able to technically bring this Solana level experience to ETH. So that's why.
Nice. Yeah, so there's 2 parts to Aztec. So Aztec is also core maintainer to a ZK DSL called Noir. And speaking to the Solana builders, I suggest it's probably the Noir side of things that's super interesting. So Noir allows developers to build applications with native privacy and ZK circuits without having to know any of the complex maths. So there's all sorts of builders in different ecosystems using Noir. Starknet built a verifier. There's lots of applications on EVM. The Solana Foundation will be putting out an RFP for builders to build a verifier contract. So if anyone's looking for a little side project, that could be an interesting one. But really, it's making privacy accessible through that programming language. It's Rust-based, so feedback we typically get from Solana developers is pretty positive.
So we are building Rome, which allows EVM, Solana, any dev community to come and build their application. They do not need to change their wallet. They can still access either of the states, Solana state or EVM states, right from Rome, using Rome stack. So we have a number of solutions where we are bringing chains together. If you are building L2s, scaling Bitcoin or Ethereum or Solana itself, not for scaling, but interop and providing different use cases. So you can start building using our stack. You can set up your own L2, or you can deploy your dApps. You can deploy your SPL or the Solana programs, or you can deploy your Solidity smart contract. So in our stack, Solidity smart contract talks to a SPL program, providing interoperability. So you have a lot of surface area that provides you to build applications that are truly cross-chain. In cases, we have a dual DA, like for us Ethereum-based sequencer, your DA resides on Solana as well as on Ethereum. So you can validate your data, you can validate the state of your L2 from either of the chains without having to go to a different chain. Similarly, Bitcoin L2s, they can verify their chain on Solana, their state on Solana, as well as they can verify that data on Bitcoin network itself. So you have a lot of surface area on which you can play and create interesting application, cross-chain application. In terms of composability, we have anywhere from atomic composability between L2 transaction and Solana native transaction to some async composability between external L1 and Solana and Rome EVM. So you have a lot of different options in terms of how you compose transaction, which functionality from different chain you bring in for building application. So for example, if you're building RWA sale platform, you can put your RWA transaction, KYC token ID and payment where you're taking payments in a single transaction, atomic transaction. So it becomes without locking any assets or taking payment upfront. So basically, your workflow user experience is much more seamless, much more atomic, trustless. So you can build applications which are much more like Web 2 application using Rome Stack. So what you get when you're building with the Rome Stack, you get a lot of functionality, a lot of abilities to either set up your L2, which are settling on Ethereum, Bitcoin, or Solana, and as well as ability to use many different languages. So that's why I feel Rome is providing you a much more holistic platform on which you can build your applications.
So a lot of that was pretty complex, but as a builder, as an app builder, so infra wants the builders, but builders want builders want to build where the users are, right? So as a app builder, what I care about is mainly two things: where the liquidity is and where users can have like the most frictionless and seamless UX. So I would love to learn so all of that. I'm also non-technical, so it probably makes a lot more sense to some of you guys on the floor. So I would love to know, like, how are you guys using your tech or maybe like non-tech capabilities to solve for liquidity fragmentation and also UX friction?
Yes. So in our case, in many cases, we have unified liquidity, which basically is your liquidity lives as an SPL program, SPL token on Solana, which is accessed by different L2s. And they see this from the lens of an L2 as an ERC20 token, but this liquidity remains in one single program. So there is no liquidity fragmentation as far as on Rome. We bring the liquidity that is available to all L2s that join. So they have access to Solana liquidity. In addition, they also have access to liquidity that is outside of Solana and L2s. So with integration, so we are doing an integration with AgLayer where we would have outpost on Solana that provides you access to liquidity that is available on any chain that is connected to AgLayer. So we are bringing this chain together, and in many cases we are providing a unified liquidity contract where all the liquidity lives, and you see that liquidity from your lens, from your L2 perspective. In terms of solving user experience problems, so liquidity is less fragmented. Or in most cases, it is just one single place. Secondly, how you compose your transaction. So as a user, sometimes I do not want to create, let's say, EVM wallet, and I just want to work with my Solana wallet and access Uniswap liquidity on a L2 chain. So you are able to do that using our stack. Similarly, EVM user, they do not want to, let's say, create their Solana wallet and be able to access some meme coin they want to buy, or trade on Orca or some DEXs. So using our tech, we have Solidity smart contract calling SPL program, which allows you to do this cross-chain transaction on a different chain, on Solana or on EVM chain, Rome L2s, without leaving your chain. So what we are providing with this is for user to remain in their chain and still be able to do other transaction. Second part, which I just explained earlier on, atomic composability across L2s and Solana, which provides a much better user experience compared to user having to jump. Even if we look at today in terms of bridging, user has to do number of steps before they can bridge their token from one chain to another chain. So what we are doing is we are innovating that tech space. Using the sequencer technology, where you are able to do your token transfer much more trustless and holistically without having to jump through different hoops. So you can very easily move your assets across. So this is how we are trying to solve the user experience, which is very fragmented, very hoppy today in Web3 space, to bring in more users, to bring in expansion like Web2. We have to make this experience for our users that seems, if not better, just as good as Web2 experience.
Nice. Yeah, I'll start with the UI side. So all of these ZK building blocks are super interesting. So you've got things like ZK login, ZK passport, ZK email now. And what this does is it basically allows gateways between Web 2 and Web 3. So you could like have social recovery of your Phantom wallet through your email. You could verify identity privacy to allow you to access some app. Like those are super interesting as it relates to onboarding. And then in terms of where the users are, so Aztec actually has an RFP out at the minute in relation to interop. And like essentially Aztec could be a privacy layer for all blockchains. Aztec can export privacy features to other chains. So users can get like data privacy or also data privacy and user privacy. So privacy of the actual token or the transaction itself, and also the addresses. And the way or some of the flows that enables is stuff like controlling funds privately from Aztec. So you could control some of your so you could supply into Camino, withdraw those funds back to an Aztec address privately, or if you're out just for a coffee or whatever, you could pay someone from Solana to Aztec, vice versa, and those addresses would be shielded. So I'm super excited about the possibility for Aztec to export some of these private features across all chains.
Yeah, so I just want to take a moment and recognize the importance of this question because this is essentially why we build what we build as Soon is really going where the users are, right? So if in the ideal world, we all agree, right? Solana has been bringing the most, user adoption, right? And Ethereum really kind of been lacking that department. And in the ideal world, everyone just go to Solana. What are we even doing here? But in reality, the Ethereum is never going down to zero, right? The coin itself, the vibes, the entire community, right? So there's a lot of existing reasons why people stay at the ecosystem, and they might be OG NFT traders that came into this ecosystem because they bought something on ETH and never figure out how to liquidate it. Whatever the reason might be, right? The liquidity, the assets sits on ETH can now be utilized in a more capital efficient way because you can actually access these Solana, your favorite Solana dApps on ETH, right? So that's really why we built the project. And then specifically how we accomplish this interoperability issue is through, essentially just going back to the point of, as a developer, right? Why would you go to Soon? Because you just deploy, you just develop once and then can deploy everywhere, right? That's the idea. And then now not only you can deploy on Ethereum, we also have SVM BNB. That's a SVM version on Binance Smart Chain, right? So that's another liquidity venue that you can tap into. And also going back to the interoperability issue, right? So we have this native interop called InterSoon, right? That is embedding the sequencer. So not only we get the native interoperability within the Soon universe, the Soon chains, right? Not only our single L2, but the app chains that live in the Soon universe. But we also build interoperability within Solana and within Tong. So these are all ecosystems that has a lot of users, again, going where the users are. So, in terms of like the volume, we've seen the InterSoon volume doing like 100 million in the last 2 months. I think a lot of folks are attracted to the idea that, they can now access their favorite, Solana level experience in within our ecosystem. That's something that I was very familiar with as I was used to working at the OP Foundation, building the OP stack. So this is like our version of OP stack, right? Using SVM as underlying tech.
Yeah, so hot take, I think users are on Solana and mostly migrating to Solana, and liquidity should stay on Solana and go into Solana, right? And that is also taking into account, I really do not care that much about the Ethereum ecosystem, except for like respect for everyone that's building there. But now that we're established that users are on Solana and we want more users coming in, and liquidity is already there and we want it to stay there. So we solve liquidity fragmentation with a couple of things. On the technical front, you need really good bridging experience. And from the user perspective, you want that to be really fast. And because of the SVM, that is possible. You don't need to wait 7 days to withdraw your funds, right? And when the bridging experience is really fast, you can imagine a place where the liquidity is on Solana mainnet, goes onto the rollup for a little bit, finishes the transaction, goes back to on mainnet. And now liquidity fragmentation is only ephemeral. Similarly, you can also lock the state on mainnet and then do off-chain computation on a sidechain and then transfer that back. That's also available on Solana, but I would argue that's also possible on EVM ecosystem as well. And on the non-technical front, you need a couple ecosystem pieces to help the developers to solve liquidity fragmentation and user experience. The first is the wallet user experience. And on Solana, the main wallets have really, really good user experience, and they were designed from a perspective where they're multi-chain to begin with. So whether it be Backpack, Phantom, OKX wallets, these guys support us day one and have native chain support on day one. Now you have wallet as well as a really quick bridge. Next, you go into stablecoin, you have Wrap stablecoin, you have Perina, which is working on stables on top of Solana. And we are incubating and finding the kings of our ecosystem, which start with the DEXs. So you start with the DEX, lending, and then LST, which are all very, very mature and really easy to whether fork or redeploy on top of Solana because of our RPC endpoint change. And once you have those three key pieces, then you have enough ample liquidity to go back and forth between mainnet and rollup. And then we incubate our special projects, which are the social media connectors, the TikTok mini apps, the pump funds on these legacy social media platforms as well. Just to say one last thing, we think there's a really interesting design choice when it comes to a rollup and the base layer, which is Solana mainnet, that's not explored before, because we think, one, chains are going to get faster, cheaper, block space commoditized, but there will always be liquidity on different chains, which means the MEV, the arbitrage between chains, are going to be a really interesting design choice. When the chains are really fast and the interop are also really fast, you can actually have embedded MEV between different chains. That's something that we're exploring as well. Then it's almost like you get listed on OKX and you get listed on Upbit. There's a price differentiation. People are going to arb between the chains. And we really think that's what drives users and volume, is really those opportunities and the design choices there.
I love how you guys all reference different apps as like examples of how apps can build on you guys. So that actually made it much clearer for me. So I'm gonna move away from the tech for a moment. We've seen different chains build momentum by driving community alone, right? Monad is a great example of that. So like tech aside, what are some things that you guys are doing to build up community of builders or users for your protocols?
I can go first. Just leveraging Solana's existing community, there's something really unique there. And shout out to Arif, who's in the audience here as well. Our team talks to 18 different 17 or 18 different super teams across the board. We just launched our mainnet this morning. Every single super team, whether it be Balkans, Poland, Philippines, everyone helped us retweet and drive users and developers through these basically satellite operational channels, right? And at the same time, when we rolled out our hackathon, within 2 weeks, the Solana developers, there's over 300 submissions across the board. And I think that's really something unique, where it is these little entities in different geographic regions that are centralized, centrally run, but at the same time also kind of contributed in a way that we measure by country GDP. And that is really, really unique to Solana. And we can leverage a lot from these existing really passionate communities. And they support the fact that we're building for specific verticalized purposes as well.
Yeah, I think on the community side, two things, right? So first, we kind of really just break the silos between EVM and SVM, right? So on one end, we have the Solana builders that wanted to explore new ecosystems, and as you mentioned, right, we also have this way of make these top applications in the ecosystem by incentivizing with future tokens, right? That we have a mainnet, but we haven't launched the token yet. So a lot of that helps with driving the ecosystem building. And I think on the specifically, like we kind of tap into similar ecosystem, like you mentioned, with super teams, but we have our own existing localized knowledge, being a team that's very, very globally distributed. I think strategically we have like 2 people, here from the US, my head of community here, give him a shout out here. And everybody else is, located in like UAE, Turkey, Southeast Asia, India. These are all regions that we were super bullish on. We believe that we're going to see the next wave of emerging developers and the next Jupiter, the next Drift, right, coming from. So we really leverage those relationships and help those ecosystem partners to jumpstart their ecosystem by hosting these hacker houses locally and basically participating in these like events that you guys probably don't even hear about. And then secondly is going back to the point that we also really bring in like growing the pie, right? Bringing in more people from the Eastland. So like a good example of this is we have a DEX called Dodo. They used to be a EVM only, DEX that had tried so many different, ETH L2s, like all the high performance ones that you can think of. The most recent one was on Arbitrum, but they just realized that they couldn't really get to, as mentioned, right? Like we can do 50 milliseconds block time. Like, the TPS is at least like 20 times higher than some of the existing other existing ETH L2s out there. So for them to become competitive and be able to like come up with these new user features that they wanted to build, they were previously bottlenecked by the EVM tech stack. So by switching over to the SVM side, now they can actually build like a meme coin launchpad. They can build these atomic, synchronized, order books and build out all these new user features that they wanted to build. So we were able to track a lot of these EVM builders who are previously curious about Solana, but just didn't have the either the time to like rewrite their code base. We do a lot of helping on that side as well to get people to switch over to the Rust side, but also the fact that they don't have to migrate their entire community, right? That were previously on ETH for the last like 7 years, right? So that's a really big part that they really care about is continue to service their community, but be able to come up with a better app experience.
Nice. So Aztec's been building for almost 8 years, so long. We had ZK Money, which was kind of akin to token extensions on Solana, and then we had Aztec Connect, and I had hundreds of millions deposited into it before our founder made the mad decision to shut that down and focus on the more ambitious, fully programmable blockchain. So we kind of have that underlying community there, which is nice. Then in terms of like what Aztec enables, like I think it's like we're really trying to keep like that cypherpunk vision alive. Like I kind of think blockchains are a little bit dystopian if we just leave them in current form. And Aztec's going to be launching fully decentralized as well. So we're launching with 1,000 different nodes in May. So any budding infra providers out there, there's an op as well on that side. Then on the Noir side, so Noir is one of the fastest growing developer ecosystems. We were top 5 in the last 2 Electric Capital reports. So we get a lot of interest across the board. I think one of the things I'm most excited about as well is like that Web 2 and also the regulated business activities that like just needs privacy, because it is still questionable as to whether people actually care about privacy, unfortunately. I think it is getting a little bit more trendy, but it comes and goes. So like longer term, like it is going to be the people who absolutely are required to need privacy. And so that's all these stablecoin fintech type use cases.
Yeah, I think it's a very relevant question for us. So far, we've been working with tech communities, universities, getting to dev places where we can bring, because we are an infrastructure project, we are building infrastructure for builders. So that's how we have looked traditionally about what kind of community we want. But like a few weeks ago, I had talked with my team that it is not just for ourselves that we need this community. It is also for the builders who are building application, who are building L2, using our infrastructure. We need to have community for them. And what better way to bring this community about but using Rome theme, Rome mythology, Rome architecture, and rallying community behind that. So we are looking for a community builder who is passionate about building community, who's passionate about Rome mythology, and want to talk to you, DM me. We are looking for a community builder who can rally behind Rome theme.
I think that's a great answer, by the way. Like, I think everyone should always be hiring, right, as a protocol builder. So yeah, if you're looking for a job, Rome is looking to expand Rome on chain.
We're hiring too.
Okay, so final, we have 10 seconds. Anyone want to, plug that they're hiring, or like plug anything else they're excited about before we wrap up?
If you are RWA, DeFi protocol, L2, you want to build, you want to have cross-chain liquidity, composability, access, come talk to us.
I want to learn about Chomp.
Talk to me off stage. All right, that's all the time we have for today. So you know who these builders are. Please come talk to them if you want to build on their rollups, their L2s. Thank you all for being here. Very excited about the future of
Thank you.
interoperability.
Thank you.
Bye.